as you can see.
Everybody does it the same exact way. Oh, wait, no, wait, what?
There's one right way to publish, and no other way works.
Mm-hmm.
No? Wait, that's not our message, is it?
Well, what is... yeah, we might have different messages here.
Everybody should have the same taste as me.
Oh, yeah, if they had the same taste as me, though, their taste would be correct.
And would you buy all their books, or would you just request free samples?
But a combination.
Okay.
For sure. And... yeah, it is interesting because, like, what appeals to one person doesn't necessarily appeal to the next person. Hi, I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 28 years.
I'm Ellie Blue, the Vice President of Microcosm. We started this podcast to share what we've learned with newer publishers, so you can learn from our mistakes. Or maybe you just want to learn about the publishing.
This week, we are back at PNBA, the Pacific Northwest Booksellers Association Fall Trade Show. And we are talking to booksellers about how they determine if they published to their taste or to the market, or some combination of the two, or if they think about this at all, or how they look at this issue.
I really enjoyed their answers to this question. They were all really... I feel like they showed how much in love with their books these publishers are, and that's really what it's all about.
And it was really fascinating to me how many people were like, obviously, I publish books that I would want to read. And I'm like, well, not actually obvious, but I love it that, like, to you, there's one correct answer.
I mean, I feel like with so many people publishing now, you can do that.
It's like we're watching consolidation after consolidation. And, you know, like Union Square getting bought by Hachette, Workman getting bought by Hachette. That does create more opportunities for more independent publishers to go further left of field, further into taste, further into, like, product development, for lack of a better term.
The way that we publish and how my company is we really think of an end user and a book as like an object that you would save and like an art form. And so I really, from start to finish, think about how actually that book, even in words, before we have anything else, how is that going to look to sell? That's my number one thing in acquisitions and how we publish.
In the memoir and the fiction categories. And these are just like women who are sort of, 60 and undiscovered, right?
My bookstore is a romance bookstore, but I also like to call it a relationships bookstore because I feel like the way I describe it is that my relationship with myself and my platonic relationships with like friends, family, everyone like that impact my relationships with my current partner. And so there will be mostly, the main focus will of course be happily ever after books, so your typical romance and romance genre books, but there will also be like kids books that help them guide through the feelings that they have. Adult books that like guide through like, maybe you're trying to get sober, maybe you're going through a breakup, maybe you're, you may be on the edge about some things and you're trying to figure that out. And so I just want a place where people feel like no matter what stage of life they're in, there's a space for them in my store.
We publish a handful of books a year. I usually say handful because it ranges from 1 to 3. 3 is a big year. 2024 was huge. We had 3. And we publish what I like to call literary fiction on a joyride and the occasional memoir.
So we started in 2020, although I do have a background in like in-house traditional publishing, working on a lot of cookbooks, and so we focus on cookbooks with our press.
Well, this is our first year, but our first book came out in April.
On women authors, regional topics. Our first cookbook was the Washington Women's Cookbook, which was based on a suffrage cookbook from 1909 that was a collection of recipes used as a fundraiser.
Started in sales and marketing 25 almost years ago.
I was a freelance designer, my wife is a freelance editor, and we were always like, but we love literature so much, we want to actually produce books.
I'm deeply in love with the business of publishing. And I have been for 40 years. And when I first started my first publishing company, I was 25 years old, right?
We publish nonfiction, lifestyle, cooking, wine, entertaining, as well as prescriptive nonfiction. I would call it a little bit self-help, women's nonfiction, business light, maybe?
Something that reveals something about your existence, like some greater truth about what it means to be you, like laying bare of the soul. Like
30 a year, I would say. Oh, and children's. Oh my God, I have a whole children's side of my press.
Right. And, it felt like I was cutting through the desert with a sword, trying to figure stuff out. And that was before Meditate. It was before apps. And so I come back in when I'm 62 or 63 and start this press. And suddenly we're in a world of apps. And we're in a world of a million ways to help, right?
I buy what's popular, but I also like buying things that I personally believe in and want to sell. And so for me, it's like, of course I'm gonna, and when I mention these authors, it's not like me dogging them or anything like that, but like the Colleen Hoover or any of those sort of books where I may not personally read them at this moment, but eventually I may get to reading them, but I know they're gonna sell, and I know that people will read them, which is important.
We don't really like victim stories, and so we're kind of looking for something that's not necessarily empowerment, but that kind of shows an upswing in the narrative where things are resolved in a really great way.
But I also want to buy things that I can highlight and things that I can, really put in the spotlight that may not already be in the spotlight.
How would you describe your taste?
Whimsical. I mean, shocking, but hard things happen in real life, and when I started my press, I wanted to publish serious books about serious topics, and I still do. But given how the world has been a dumpster fire in recent years, I'm always looking for some joy or beauty or wonder in our books. And so even when really hard things happen on the page, it's often balanced with a scent of magic or a whiff of playfulness. We don't want to undercut or step away from the importance of trauma narratives, but we also know there's a lot of trauma everywhere, and sharing some books that will make people feel good has become more and more part of our mission since COVID.
I would say it reflects my taste, but it also reflects our editorial director, Julia Park Tracy's taste, who does the primary acquisitions, that I'm brought in at the end to kind of make sure that that's what we want to do.
I call it literary fiction. But that is kind of pretentious, no, seriously. I had this conversation with Chris from Blue Cactus, and they were like, well, what is literature? What does that mean? Why is literary fiction not fiction?
My taste drives a lot of it. When we're open for submissions for unagented authors, we get a committee together. My dear editor-at-large and friend Liz Prado runs that whole show for us, and we bring in volunteer readers to help share their taste. If somebody I know submits, I definitely step back and wait for other members of the committee to read first, because I never want anyone to think they were chosen just because I like them as a human being. And so that group of people definitely impact what we're looking for, but they also take cues from our mission statement and from our existing books, and they're able to say this will fit. Fans of Neil Cochran's Story of the 100 Promises will really enjoy The Queen of Steeplechase Park or whatever, making those connections with us. And then ultimately it's I'm the final tastemaker, the arbiter of what we say yes to, the signer of contracts.
No, I publish what I'd like to read and see on my own bookshelf. Hence, the children's book publishing is really what I would love to see my children read. I have 3 kids, so and then the prescriptive nonfiction, kind of self-help, business light women's voices are actually things that I personally find enriching for my own business, or that I would see someone else needing in their life. And then I'm a huge cook myself and food person. My family, we've been in the, my partner, my husband, he's in the food and wine business. So, cooking has just been something we love.
All those stages were so fun, and I feel like we made friends with those people. And so, yeah, I think for us it really is about that connection and not just what's something else we can publish to make some money. Making money would also be nice.
I think as you grow, you'll naturally stray further from your taste. But when you're small, it makes sense. You want to be a passionate evangelist for every book. I think we might have cut the part where someone told us in depth several scenes from the book that they really liked. But I feel
Bummer.
That's how you said it.
If you've never attended a regional trade show before, that's the thing that will become abundantly clear within
Yes.
like a few minutes, just like how broad and wide the industry is.
I feel like putting out books now, it's like you're waving a little flag. You're like, hey, people like me, come find me, read this book. I think that's cute.
Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
On Twitter at Microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at Microcosm_pub.
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.
For a very long time. Should we edit that and turn so it doesn't ring on my watch, or is it fine? Do you want me to put it on silent, Joe?
Yeah.